So, hello, Luke. Huge warm welcome to Finding Flow. It's really, really good to have you here. I've been watching your content, and there's something about how you show up on LinkedIn that feels different from most senior leaders in tech. I'd say it's a lot warmer, more human, and so it's really great to have you on here. Thank you so much for joining.
No, great, Kyle. It's good to be part of Finding Flow, and yeah, great to have a discussion with yourself. I'm really looking forward to it.
Perfect. Sounds good. I suppose before we get into any of the big stuff, I want to start somewhere sort of unexpected. I saw you recently DJed for 500 Cisco customers and partners at a Chinese New Year in Singapore. How does a managing director at Cisco end up behind the decks?
It actually was because of, I guess, because of COVID. So everyone, 5 or 6 years ago, kind of picked up their COVID skill, and mine was to learn how to DJ. I think it was a
Amazing.
Father's Day gift. I've got two kids, 15 and 11,
Yeah,
and I think they said, look, everyone at that time was sort of looking for new things to do, so that became my skill.
that's
Uh,
great.
then as part of that, we have this technology at Cisco called WebEx, and we would, I guess, try and entertain. Back then, it was all about keeping people entertained and bringing teams together. So there was an opportunity for me and a group of other musicians at
Yeah.
Cisco to form a bit of a group and do something like that. So I've done it 5 years ago, and then I had a 4 or 5 year gap, and then got the opportunity, as you said, Kyle, to do that in Singapore a couple of months ago. So always breaks it up a little.
That sounds really amazing. And is that sort of a metaphor for how you would lead, sort of reading the room, keeping energy up, making sure everyone's having a good time?
It's interesting that you say that. I think momentum is a big thing in business. I don't know about other people, but for me, having the pleasure to coach teams, especially large sales teams, there were many, many times that I can tell if we're going to achieve or perform well based on the buzz and the momentum in the room or in the sales team. And
Yeah.
I think you can, as a leader, keep that buzz going, that momentum going. But as you said, kind of humanize things.
Yeah.
It goes a long way. If people enjoy coming to work and they feel comfortable coming to work, then there's a pretty strong chance that they're going to outperform. So that's what I look for.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Well, let's maybe rewind a bit. So you started at Silicon Computers in 97 doing IT support. Now you're running a region for one of the biggest tech companies on the planet. So that's not an accident. What was the version of Luke Power at 20 that set this whole thing in motion?
Also, had a dad that really pushed me, as I'm sure a lot of dads like to do out there. I remember when I was probably 16, 17. I guess I should probably say, and this is a hard thing to do, but I can't explain why. I just always knew that I wanted to be in tech. It
Yeah.
was my passion. Like a lot of kids in the 80s and 90s grew up playing games on my PC.
Yeah.
Times have changed. It's not about just putting a CD in a PlayStation device or downloading it from the cloud. You actually
Mm.
had to get a lot of your computer hardware configured right and working and built. I mean, back then we built PCs and we made sure that they were configured correctly. So in order to get my computer games to work, I found myself opening up computers and repairing and doing my own config. And so just very early on, I realized, Carl, that that was something that I wanted to do. And my dad did me a great service by sort of printing out a few resumes at a very early age. I think I might have been maybe 16 or 17.
Yeah.
We drove around a suburb in Western Sydney where a lot of computer stores were, and and we just handed out resumes. So I guess very early on, I sort of learnt that you need to be persistent, you need to handle rejection,
Sure.
but you need to sort of hustle and go, hustle and go about that in the way that you do things. Funny enough, it wasn't the way that I actually got my first gig in tech. I
Okay.
think I might have gone home that week or the next and got onto what's called MERC, which is like internet relay chat. And I don't think it really exists these days, but I was on a technical help chat room, um,
Okay.
and um, and got asked a one-on-one question by what was it going to be a business owner. And he said, he had actually asked a technical question in the chat room. I answered it, and then he pinged me one-on-one saying, "You answered that question really well. Would you like to come
Okay.
in for an interview?" So caught the train into the city at the age of 18, 19, got to work for a computer store. This particular guy, he owned the store, he operated it, he built his PCs, he built networks. And so from a very, very early age, I got to know how to run a SMB, a small medium business, and got to build PCs, to learn how to configure networks, but most importantly, got to learn how to interact with people, which I think is a huge task today, especially with distractions like technology and all the
Sure.
devices that we have. We've lost we've lost the human connection, I believe, and I think I got to learn that. So I guess when you sort of talk about what does the 20-year-old Luke Powell look like at Silicon Computers, that was the computer store that I worked at.
Yeah,
Versus now, I think there's still a drastic need, especially more now than ever, to have that human connection, that touch point, not just people that they trust, but people that have used the technology or had great experience in the technology, but have that clarity to understand the customer's use case and how the technology addresses that use case. Yeah.
sure. Yeah, sounds like you learned really key lessons from very early on that served as a great foundation for everything that came afterwards. You came back to Cisco. You actually said publicly, coming back felt like coming home. So, what does it say about a company or a culture when someone chooses to return?
Yeah, I mean it's a hard question to explain because I think more of it is a feeling. It's my third time back, which is I think a little
Yeah,
bit unusual. I don't know what they call that. They usually call it a boomerang when you come back twice,
yeah,
but I don't know what the third time is. But for me, I found myself even when I was away from Cisco, sort of coaching Cisco people, mentoring account managers, talking to them about how certain deals were constructed and how they could work with partners or help customers. I was still talking to a lot of Cisco partners who I had long lifelong relationships with. And there's something about the brand, like again, I feel as though, and I'm always telling people at Cisco, it's such a great brand. Sometimes when you work for such a great brand, you can also become quite complacent in the brand and just take it for granted. And I think leaving Cisco and coming back probably showed me how great a company is. And the culture's fantastic. There's an opportunity to really, because it is such a large company and it has so many different business units, it really gives you the opportunity to dabble in certain areas if you feel like you want to take a stretch assignment in marketing or see what it's like to be an engineer or in sales or partner. And I think a great company like Cisco really allows you to do that. So just a combination of everything, Cole, great culture, great people, great technology, great channel partners and fabulous customers. So not to say that those places that I was at other than Cisco have been fantastic. They have.
yeah,
But for me, that history and background that I had, just as you said, felt like home.
for sure. Um, you manage partners across Asia Pacific, Japan, Greater China, so massive cultural complexity. When do you feel most in flow in that role? So when does it click and you think this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of jobs working for big vendors where you can really feel sucked into the internal mechanics of the company, whether it be PowerPoint presentations, spreadsheets, internal meetings. I think they're all important. But for me personally, when I feel at my best, it's when I'm in front of a partner. In this current role that I've been doing for almost a year now, a little bit different to previous roles because it's across the APJC region. So for me, going and seeing what other particular business cultures are like and things that are working and things that are not in different countries has been an amazing experience. And I think that's when I feel at my best when I'm in front of the partner, in front of the customer, listening to what some of their challenges are, some of their opportunities, and just being able to bring that from one country to another in the region, which is a very unique region. We're talking
Yeah,
16, 17 countries and they're all
yeah.
different with all different cultures, people. So I think that's when I feel like I'm at my best or that I'm making an impact when I'm in front of a partner, a distributor or a customer.
Sure. Okay. You talk a lot about trust. So you mentioned strong partnerships aren't defined by capability alone; they're anchored in trust. In 20 years of sales leadership, how do you actually build trust at scale across hundreds of partners? Is it systematic, or is it still just person to person?
Yeah, really, really good. Even though it seems like there's a lot of people in tech, I still consider the industry to be quite small.
Yeah,
There's a strong chance that, and you'd know about this, like sort of everyone tends to know everyone. And if you want an opinion
yeah,
on something, it's not that hard to get an opinion on one of your mutual connections. So I don't feel like in our industry, you really have a chance to compromise that brand. So I go out of my way to make sure that whoever it is who I'm meeting with, no matter what role they do, I've left that person with some sort of value or been able to help them in some sort of way, not just for my own selfish needs of building my brand, but I think that's important because the industry is so small. And if you're looking to scale that trust and those partnerships like you talk about, I think that's really critical. So, and that obviously comes with years of experience. It's hard to do that just being 1 or 2 years in the industry. But again, you have to sort of start somewhere. And I feel like that's an important thing. Everyone is there's a say do ratio that sometimes I talk about. So
Yeah.
I'm often my team that you can't be expected to know everything. I just had a one-on-one with someone this afternoon and, they beat themselves up because they don't know the answers to everything. And I'm sort of coaching them around, you don't really have to, or you're not expected to know everything. Our partners or
Yeah.
our internal people, our internal teams don't expect us to know everything. But I think what they do expect is if you don't know the answer to a question, then you go back and get that and you respond to the customer or the partner, when you're committed to. So that say-do
Sure.
ratio it builds the trust that you talk about and goes a long way to trying to build your network and build your connections out there.
You're known for coaching and developing people. So, what's the most important thing you've learned about unlocking someone else's potential? Have you ever helped someone find their version of flow?
Yeah, and that's where again I probably answered your other question where I sort of talked about where I feel like I'm at my best is in front of
Yeah.
partners. I
Yeah.
actually also, there's something that's super rewarding as a leader to get a WhatsApp message or a note that says, "Hey, look, I implemented something you talked to me about a few years back," or "I thought, even though I thought of you when I was going through this situation today, and this is how I dealt with it. Thanks for the advice you gave me all those many months or years back."
Yeah.
Um, I think that's whilst I love Cisco, I could be a leader anywhere. I think I could be a leader at McDonald's, right? I think it's leadership that drives me. I've been fortunate enough to have really good leaders, and so I feel like I feel like I have this duty to repay that back to the
Sure.
next generation of people coming through. So it's highly rewarding when you find out that you made an impact on someone's life, personally or professionally. I think it's highly rewarding as a leader.
100%. I wanted to talk a bit about AI, the industry shift, and maybe, yeah, the bigger picture. You shared Jensen Huang's quote, domain knowledge is the superpower. So it seems you believe in AI augmenting people, not replacing them. But in sales leadership specifically, what actually changes? What does the AI era sales leader versus maybe 5 years ago?
Yeah. So I think you're right, Kyle. I think AI doesn't replace people, but I feel like there's a strong chance that it will replace people that don't know how to use AI. And that's
Yeah.
in every role, in every industry. I think for sales leaders, I've already spoken to a couple of sales leaders just this week that says, that they're using AI for various different reasons, whether it's to run a dashboard or produce data or drive reports or help them with PowerPoint, gain data on particular people within a customer. So I think there are lots of different use cases, it's great to see the industry sharing some of those use cases as the technology evolves. So I do feel like there's a really good opportunity to utilize AI when it comes to being more efficient and driving those outcomes so you can focus on the things that matter to you. I do also think, and my leadership couple of months ago ran some AI training for myself and my peers. And what dawned on me during that session was there's AI and there's the AI tools, but what is super important is that, again, goes back to my point, you need to know how to use AI, and there's a lot of planning and preparation and creative thinking that is required to get the most out of AI.
Sure.
And whether that's asking AI the right questions, providing them the right information, or even after you get the outcome from AI, revalidating it back through AI is another
Yeah.
use case and business practice that I've seen recently from sales leaders as well. And obviously there's a lot of conversation about AI at the moment in different forums and different areas. But for me personally, I feel like it's a huge opportunity that we need to take advantage of. Lots of people are talking about it coming. It's here. It's here. And I
Yeah.
think we need to acknowledge that it's here and really take advantage of it because it can be of great benefit if we really focus on it.
Definitely. I wanted to talk about also you relocated to Singapore away from your home base in Australia. That's a big life decision. I suppose. What did that period teach you about yourself?
A lot. Probably learn more about myself in that sort of 10, 12-month period than I did. I feel with that situation, I really, really jumped in, had a family in Australia.
Yeah.
That obviously I lived with went out there to sort of set the business up and really sort of dive head deep into the role for a period of time. Was there by myself. So I think when you're on your own, you really get inside your head. You start to really spend a lot of time with yourself to
Yeah.
not only work hard but sort of do a lot of thinking
Mm.
about how we can deliver better outcomes for customers, but how you can be a better person, whether it be a better leader or a better person professionally or personally. So great experience for me. Obviously, great experience to live in any other country. I would encourage anyone on the call to try it out because again,
Yeah.
I also feel like whilst you can spend a couple of weeks in a remote country doing business or having meetings, you don't really truly get to experience what it's like unless you're immersed and living in the country itself. So great
Totally.
experience. Like I said before, got to learn about the way that different people do different things. And yeah, really, really, really exciting period of my time.
Yeah, I think there's no better way to learn about yourself than moving to another place and gaining more perspective. And it just really teaches you a lot. I think it's an amazing thing to do. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, what was Singapore like as a place? Is it quite a
Yeah,
nice place?
great country, very efficient. Again,
Yeah,
services like transportation and
yeah,
healthcare, very safe country to live in as well. So
yeah,
very efficient, and you can see why a lot of tech companies will set up their their APAC or their APJC headquarters there. It's just a really great country to live in. So really good. It does get quite humid, especially for depending on if where you're coming from. If you're coming from a relatively cold country, for the
yeah,
first month or so, the heat and the humidity can get to you.
yeah.
But yeah, it's a great country, and I had great experience there.
Okay, amazing. You mentioned publicly the importance of balance. So pausing, recharging, staying grounded. But for someone operating at your level, what does that actually look like in practice? So what keeps you grounded?
I think my background, like I didn't, again, going back to the foundations of my family, sort of we had to sort of work for everything that we sort of received in life. Weren't a super poor family, but weren't a super rich family either. Sort of middle class upbringing. There's certain work ethics I saw from my family. I think have really had a huge impact on me. My dad, never really saw him take a sick day at all, consistently worked hard for the family. So I think a lot of that has come through and grounded me. I think, like I talked about Kyle before, just having really great leadership has also grounded me as well, because I feel like I've received something which is highly special. I have that, it's my responsibility to be able to pass that on to someone else. Again, I think that definitely keeps me grounded. I think having the right balance, which I've got to be honest, I really struggle with. 24/7, always being on with various devices. The way technology is these days, it's really easy to get sucked in and really apply yourself full time. So I think having that balance and is key. That's something that I, to be honest, struggle with, but try to get the right balance when I can. And just understanding, I mean, everyone's a human.
Sure.
There's that saying, I think, I mean, everyone puts their pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're a CEO or if you're working in the warehouse. I think that's what I've learned. Understanding a partner or a customer or anyone is you've got to understand that at all levels, and that's yeah definitely kept me grounded.
Yeah. We're all people at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah. You mentor women in tech through FITT. So why does that matter to you personally?
personally, yeah, I've got an 11-year-old daughter,
Yeah.
and I obviously on a personal level would love to. I believe that she should have the same opportunity that everyone else has. I think we've come a long ways, especially over the last decade, but I'm a huge supporter of everyone having the same rights and being equal and having the same opportunities. I've been, again, as I said, really lucky to work with all different types of people, and diversity is one of the best values you can have in a team. Having a diverse team brings all different types of backgrounds, perspectives, skill sets, and I'm a huge believer of that. So again, something I think it brings value to everyone, and so why shouldn't we support it?
Yeah, I think it's great advice. I totally agree with you. I think it makes a really strong team to have it diverse. And yeah, I suppose the show is called Finding Flow. So for you, what does being in flow actually feel like? Is there a moment, a setting, type of conversation where you know you're fully in it, like you're in flow?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a believe it or not, like whilst I'm dealing with some pretty big stuff, it's the smaller stuff that I focus on, Carl. To be honest, I
Yeah,
look for those little signals, whether it's those little small wins or small
yeah,
pieces of feedback or encouragement. I think all those little things matter, and I think then as a leader, it makes you aware that how you make someone feel is super important, because that's how again I want to feel, and I feel like whenever I've hit certain marks in a particular meeting or have received some positive feedback or some words of encouragement, they've actually been the biggest things for me. And that's when I felt like I'm finding my flow. You get a consistent rhythm of a particular meeting or an engagement, or you feel that momentum. I think momentum is such a big thing in personal and professional life. Once you get in a role, it's really hard to stop someone. So I look for those little sparks or little moments that really encourage me to build that flow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question from my side. So you're speaking to founders, entrepreneurs, people building things, some of them early in their careers, some mid journey. What's the one thing you know now that you wish someone had told the version of you sitting in that IT support chair at Silicon Computers in 97?
It's not so much something that I'd tell myself, but I definitely feel like it helped me. And even now, like I I'm quite passionate about what I do, 20, 30 years later.
Yeah.
I think trying to understand, and this is a really hard one, like what do you want your last role to be in your career and
Yeah.
work backwards? Everyone's
Yeah.
thinking about their next role. Think about your last role, dream big, and then work
Yeah.
on yourself on where your skill gaps or education gaps or whatever those gaps are, work on them. And I think
Yeah.
it helps. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing. That's a really hard thing. I was just lucky that I really knew from the get-go that I knew what I wanted to do. Like I didn't even have a plan B. It was this or
Yeah.
nothing else. And I think what that did was it brought out the hustle in me and the energy and the passion that I probably still have today. And I think as a leader, that's what I'm looking for in people. Like, again, going back to my previous comments, not everyone is going to know everything and you can never expect anyone to know everything. But for me, I'm looking for that inner fire in the belly, that hustle, that ability to keep going forward, maybe get some negative feedback, but keep going forward. And I don't think that's something that you can coach or train. It comes from an upbringing or an experience or just how much passion you have for the role or what you're doing in life. So my advice would be don't give up. Really feed off the passion that you've got, and leaders will see that you have that passion and create opportunities for you. I'm pretty sure of that.
Luke, this has been really, really amazing. I really appreciate everything that you shared. I think a lot of people can benefit hugely from this. And yeah, I wanted to ask, where can people find you, follow your journey, and stay connected? What's the best place to find you?
Yeah, like you should have sort of touched on it before, Carl. I think LinkedIn is a fantastic tool to connect with
Yeah,
people, but people that you do know and you don't know, it's a great community. So I would probably encourage people to reach out if they would like to over LinkedIn. Happy to have a discussion about anything they want career wise, and looking forward to seeing how I can help people out there as much as I can.
amazing, Luke. Well, huge thanks again. Truly appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you. Bye.